DAMD CAEF compressed air energy facility layout. This replicates a magnetic gearbox, even though it's also showing 4 cylinders of a DAMD motor, 4 fan boxes in front with a QPE mounted in front. Basically, drive shaft spins on magnetic gears off the CAEF gear wheel. Center axle mounts to a stationary platform, touching, giving freedom of movement with air bearings or magnetic bearings. You've got a plus formation or configuration of the DAMD motors, 4 and an X pattern. You notice basically on this design it's a 4-inch cube where it houses your exhaust spool and your fan box. Lifting up on that, you've got your QPE, which does not mount to the gear wheel. It spins the axle, the drive shaft with the magnetic gears, spinning into the magnetic gearbox, magnetic transmission. There again, jumping back, your 4 DAMD motors have your 4 gears and your QPE, quad PET enclosure. Quad being 4, PET and Croatian being 5. Those 5 magnetic gears in there spinning the X shaft actually having the gear, magnetic gear, which spins on the gear wheel rim itself. So as the magnetic gear spins the drive shaft, spinning the magnetic transmission, then you have your 2 DAMD V turbo box, in this case 24, 32 preferably, possibly 40. 2 center straight shafts going down the entire length of the turbo boxes, where you've actually got mounted in several locations, 3 basically on each and every side of the enclosures. This depicts your basic distributor turbocharger DAMD design. Turbo box having your exhaust housing portion off to the side, either a magnetic or a air bearing spindle. Simply have your impeller compressor wheel going in, mounting down. This mounts on with 5. It's got an O-ring in there, 5 bolt patterns there. Center shaft coming up to your magnetic gear there. These easy assembly. Simply slide in. You have your O-ring around there, mounts on there. You've got your 5 bolt pattern again, mounting every aspect of your DAMD distributor turbochargers. There again, you've got 3 per side. If you go with a plus 32, you'll have the additional. On the ends, it's just basically you mount your capsule for your straight shaft on either a magnetic or an air bearing cartridge, giving 0 friction spin on every aspect of the motor. There again, if I've neglected, which I did not, but I didn't clarify it so specifically, your 4 motors on one side, your 4 on the others, the DAMD motors, mount directly to the mainframe. On the mainframe, you have your air bearing or your magnetic bearing for your center axle. That allows your gear wheel, which in this case would be a 42-inch diameter. If you have a 42-inch diameter, you've got a QPE gear, magnetic gear of 6-inch to 8-inch. That's spinning your 42-inch gear wheel. That's your basic size. Same with the size overall, which you can see on a pool table. That's your basic size to turn a 1 to 6 megawatt, whatever maximum amount on a generator. showing a depiction of a DAMD Turbo Box Plus 24. Magnetic gearbox, drive shaft, gear wheel. On your configuration, you've got your air inlet line that comes in. You've got a Y pipe allowing the NCFM vacuum, because as the air is compressed and forced through, it draws exterior air from the environment, which actually takes it through carbon capturing filter. The same with your inlets on your DAMD distributor turbochargers. Every amount of airflow coming in is being vacuumed through carbon capturing filters. As the air is gone directed or forced through the pipes, you have a dual throttle body. They work independently. If you open the throttle body, allowing the air to go to the gear wheel, the exhaust side is shut. That being shut, there's no exhaust going out. 100% of the airflow being created instantaneously goes towards the gear wheel. There's a 4-plate or a Y pipe that is basically a DAMD 4X throttle body, excuse me. Four larger throttle plates to the exhaust, turbo spools on the DAMD motors. Your 4 smaller plates go into the fan boxes. They create a high pressure versus the low pressure. The larger diameter creates the low pressure in the exhaust spool, the high pressure being sent into the DAMD fan box. The fan box exhaust actually goes through the housing, enters into the airflow of the exhaust spool, creating a flow circle like a tornado or something. So anyway, all 8 throttle body plates with individual electronically controlled throttle plates, synchronized CFM and PSI, plus the NCFM. I'm having the 4 throttle plates or the Y pipe, you enter into 8. These would be stacked, and a design like such is a square. The quad DAMD 4X throttle bodies allow a total of the 16 cylinders, both sides synchronized, creates a 32 DAMD motor configuration on the CAEF gear wheel, as you saw a second ago, with the plus minus at a 12, 3, 6, 9, which is on the opposite side, and here a 1.5, 4.5, 7.5, and 10.5 configuration, creating the plus and X. All of this design is actually going through the exhaust. You shut it down, you simply exhaust the air out, the wheel stops spinning, the turbo boxes stop spinning, the generator off to the side stops. Here's the configuration as far as a DAMD motor, to which I was showing a second ago. The larger configuration, this box depicts a QPE in a larger design. If you're doing something for the Bonneville salt flats, you can actually add on to a larger exhaust spool, skipping the fan box at 300 miles an hour, 200, 100, or even 400, 500, or 600 miles an hour. You direct 100% of that NCFM into the larger enclosure, spinning the larger diameter exhaust spool, which is connected to the X shaft, spinning the wheels. That is in conjunction with the NCFM, CFM, and PSI going into the 4 configuration for the DAMD motor. Your high pressure there again on your fan boxes, your lower pressure for your exhaust turbines, both maximize PSI, or maximum PSI, CFM, NCFM, plus the air trough system. 4 stages on the air trough system, each stage with 4 6,000 PSI, or however many maximum PSI a person wants. On the design, like I say, I'll go into a little bit different there, but I'm not going into it too much. Basically, what you can do is take instantaneous compressed air, ultra clean, As you vacuum it in, you're vacuuming it through carbon capturing filters. As you exhaust it, you send it underground. As it goes underground through the pipe work, you send it through a type of methane collecting capturing design, which is very cost effective, low cost, and then you exhaust the air cool and cleaner than when initially vacuumed. I've gone into details where you get rid of the lying deceits and deceptions of the solo geoengineering, where you burn more oxygen than what you actually replace with chemicals in the ozone layer. Instead, you use a DAMD CAEF or an independent DAMD design, and then you fill the fuselage with 100% oxygen. You take that up to the ozone layer. You can also take and fly around with a bunch of planes, having cheap, inexpensive methane capturing and CO2 capturing in the atmosphere. You can also take and do the ships, where you're actually taking and filtering air. You use the carbon that's collected, turning those into protein fish flakes, feeding the aquatic life, at the same time as pumping cold air through small tentacles, creating nano bubbles, which keeps the oxygen underwater for a longer period of time, but it also flows cooler water up to the surface. You can fight hurricanes in that way. Long at length, it's a matter of utilizing instantaneous compressed air, magnetic drive shafts, magnetic gears, spinning the gear wheel, resulting in the spinning of the drive shaft, calculating the magnetic gearbox or the magnetic transmission in order to begin spinning the DAMD distributor turbochargers. Once those are spinning, your airflow goes to the CAEF Gear Wheel 32 DAMD motor configuration. Spins the wheel, spins the drive shaft, spins the magnetic transmission, spins the turbos going through. On the gear wheel, you can have something like a Liberty engine type of rotor generator. You can have a number of these ran in a series. Those continuous series, if you make this as a much larger design, these wheels, the gear wheel can be made larger. Actually, just being the rotors at that point, those larger rotors on that single axle is either an air-bearing axle or a magnetic axle. Those spin with very little torque, generating electricity. As well, you can take and make everything extremely large and turn a 2500 megawatt generator at a much more affordable cost than any nuclear ever could.